everybody. We will have it about conscious cities, not about the trees only this time. What can blockchain do to make the future cities, real estate projects, smart cities, to make them better? Rico?
I think the answer is pretty clear with the previous two speakers. Pretty much we are looking at creating a much more sustainable living environment for people. And blockchain is one of the solutions that are able to protect the privacy of people and making things much more convenient and easy to use. The solutions are widely used in many areas in the real estates and metaverse world. Right now we are looking at a huge adoption of the metaverse technologies, not only in real estates, but also in gamification, in games, in arts, in music, and we're looking at a huge adoption of this metaverse in the fashion and entertainment industry as well. So the huge hype that we are seeing in the last 6 months is just tremendous. We just witnessed F1 recently over the weekend, and we also saw how F1 is also part of the NFT metaverse world, which is very exciting. With most of the leaders in the industry, we are looking at promoting the use of technologies besides blockchain and cryptography and encryption solutions. We have other IoT technologies coming into the space, Palm Fusion being one that is entering the space where it's going to replace probably the credit cards that most of us will be using Palm to pay, for example. Face recognition solutions, iris scanning solutions, home being the most important place where we spend most of our time in, and also offices and shopping malls and entertainment places where we spend the next 24 hours of our life. It's going to be so important where you actually need to own your own data and where your privacy should be in your own control. And that's where we see a lot of the data being encrypted. And some of the data could be transparent to regulators if they want to, and we authorize that. That control should be given to us and not just being taken for granted where people can have access to your data easily. And in terms of social medias, we see that more and more younger generations are more careful and more conscious on how they are, sharing their life and to public and the people they really want to share with. So it's a new economy we are looking at in the next 10 to 20 years, a shift of financial system where the future generations of Gen Z will be leading, the spending power, the spending behavior of the consumer, and which is why we see that there's a huge potential for the properties market, because the current home that we have now may not be the ideal home for the next generation.
Thank you.
So can I speak a little
sure.
bit? Yeah, so where I see the impact that smart contracts and crypto is going to have in our world is what I call institutions 2.0. So for the last decade, my partner and I have had a dev team in India. So I know India quite well. And in India, half of their economy is farming. And those people, those farmers, they spend more than they make. To survive and to continue to bring in their crops, they borrow from loan sharks. And quite often they can't pay them back. And as a result, 28 farmers take their lives every day in India. Up until now, we've used institutions. Institutions were important for us. They were sort of our advocates, right? They enforced the laws, they created structure, but there's inherent challenges with institutions. Number one, they take a long time to build, right? A long, long time. And if they fail to innovate, they crash and burn, right? And they're prone to corruption. So I believe that blockchain will replace our institutions. I call that institution 2.0. So for example, one of our employees, he did some microfinancing. A little while back, he invested in a mango farmer. In the first year, he 3x'd his money. Great, right? In the second year, the crop didn't come in. They didn't make any money. But still, that's 1.5 times your return every year. Who would take that, right? We'd all take that. So what was great about that transaction is that he was the investor. He took the risk, right? And as investors, we take risks, right? That's a part of investing. No risk, no reward. And so in that scenario, he took the risk rather than the farmer. Now, I see blockchain will allow that type of transaction to scale. And now, the risk will not be borne on the back of the farmer, it'll be borne on the back of the investors. And how will you know which farms to invest with? Well, we all know that blockchain is transparent, it's trustless. And so I believe that is the future of blockchain on the grandest of scales, because I think blockchain will be our institutions 2.0.
Well, I see it even that I see blockchain, crypto people I meet a lot, you meet a lot, we all meet a lot of people in the crypto space. I see them as the modern hippies. We care more about the environment than other people. And this year we saw Elon Musk make a lot of moves. First he accepted Bitcoin for Tesla, then he came back, he said, miners are not green. When he did that, I think the industry made a big move, because I think there is no more better example in industries in going green than mining. All mining farms are moving to green energy. You involved in mining, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company is Currentc Power. We're going public this month. We buy power plants, we mine crypto. And Niko, I'll be the first to admit, we're not fully renewable. We're about 60% renewable. But we have an 18-month roadmap to 100% renewability. But there's so many fallacies around crypto mining. I mean, yes, it's power intensive, but it's 0.12% of the world's power. Okay, it's small. Now, some of the fallacies around it is, most of the mining, the vast majority of Bitcoin mining was done in China. But everyone thinks that's dirty power. Most of that was hydro. Okay, so most of it, about 73% of it, was renewable. As a matter of fact, when China shut down, everyone scattered, I'm sure that has gone down, okay? But there's such a bullseye on the back of us miners to get renewable that we're all going to get fully renewable very quickly. We have no choice. But you have to realize that the Bitcoin network is the only transparent financial network. Bank of America, Chase, if you looked at all the institutions and the amount of power that they're using, it dwarfs Bitcoin by hundreds of times. So, but now we all have this bullseye on our back, and you basically you have to go green or go home, and that's great. I mean, that's great for everybody. Everybody wins, and why not? So it's a good thing.
Now, I'm from Belgium, but I live already 12 years in Sofia, Bulgaria. In Sofia are a lot of gated communities. Yeah, so you pay a service tax for the security, for the cleaning, for the grass cutting, for the snow cleaning, and so on. But if you live in that gated community, you cannot decide who is that company, and it's also not transparent where your money is going through. So in our smart city, we're going to make basically software on the blockchain that residents can decide. For example, you have 6 suppliers to bring that services. Who will be the supplier? So it's very transparent for the citizens who they took. But also you have an open ledger that shows all the payments. So much went to that supplier, so much went to the snow cleaning, so much went to the the security, sorry. So this is an example how blockchain can make the world better. Dereck, you being in real estate, what other applications do you think that blockchain can contribute to make real estate, conscious cities, smart cities better?
Yeah, I agree with you on the facility management side. It's something really important. I gave before the example with the tile. That is one of the best ones, I believe. The other one is, of course, the security, because you can track back everything, because people think about decentralization, but you have everything in blocks. Everything is trackable, right, and traceable, and that's really important. And every experience will be much more seamless, right? Because nobody, as I said before, nobody wants headache. I mean, I'm getting so tired of not getting service on certain things, on certain hospitalities I'm not getting for, and I'm still paying for it. And if I had the blockchain technology, I could say, listen, I didn't get this service on this day and that, so I don't have to pay for it, right? So that gives also more transparency, and it also gives more trust, right? Because the trust is really important in this whole world, because with decentralization you can create much more trust. And then let's say the machines or the crypto or the blockchain, whatever you want to call it, they're just helping to create more trust. And that's the same for the real estate, right? So it's only creating trust, and also what you said with the providers and also within the community. And I think we are forgetting one really big thing, is the sustainability of that project will be so much more efficient, so much more effective than any other project. And also, you could really be off the grid, because people start to freak out. Oh, I want to be off the grid. Where is the world is coming, civil wars and all this stuff. People start to be a bit cuckoo. But in a way, it's good that they become a bit cuckoo, yeah, because they're planning for the worst. So it means that things are becoming more sufficient, more self-sustainable, more off the grid, and much better for humanity in the end. Because in the end, it's about people and about nature and health, right? So that's also what I think is for your project a really important point, is to have at least a health point, right? So that the first emergency that you can do on site, and that you don't have to. When I lived in a tent in Africa for 1 year, it was rather difficult. We had to call helicopters which couldn't even land there. So and I didn't have a mobile phone, I had nothing, right? So it's a bit different story. So I think that is really important, and that's what blockchain and the new technologies can bring.
Thank you. Rico, if you see blockchain projects, especially if they are related to real estate and cities, there is always this thing, decentralization. Yeah? Why is this so important in those cities, smart cities of the future, and why can it change the world in your vision?
Well, the decentralization is where we are actually a global citizen concept, where there's no border, where we live in a borderless earth. I think that's where the whole origination of decentralization is, the origin of the concept. We can travel freely across borders. We can live wherever you want to. It's our choice. And you have all your requirements, expectations, cultural, things you like. You can have that wherever you go. And that's very important for most of us who choose where we want to live in, where we are traveling for business or for pleasure or for family. That is very important. And right now we are in a crisis where we can't do that. A lot of control systems are being put in place. A lot of restrictions are being put in place. And a lot of people are suffering because of the freedom that they used to have is no longer there. And coming from investor and institutional investing and being in the space for the last couple of years, we saw this coming in 2019, where we know there will be a huge economy meltdown. Back in January 2019, I was talking to my partner, Dunstan, and we were looking at how can we survive this economy in the next 5 to 10 years. And sustainability is one of the key things that we were looking at. What are the impact of the economic crisis hitting on most of the people suffering from job losses, unstable income, losing of businesses, all these crises, and what are the government doing about it? So looking at how unprepared most of the nations are in dealing with such crises, we look into the SDG and also ESG impact side of things, where we can be part of to support and provide some sort of assistance that we can in our capacity to do that. So the projects that we are looking at now are very impact focused. We're looking at how we can go back to provide basic necessity of human being, having the food, clean water, drinkable water, non-polluted environment that would not cause severe climate change on Earth. And then we look into other things such as education, social stabilities, and then economy. I think that is what we are looking at this point in time. We are partnering with the SDG Impact Fund on a number of initiatives that we'll be launching very soon. And we will be looking at how most of us who are involved in the blockchain and crypto space can come together and make the world a better place.
Super. Daven, I liked what you said earlier about India and so on, because, yeah, like I said earlier with the trees, we, the leaders in the blockchain space, we have to make the change. We have to make this place at least better than we received it for our kids. Now, I don't only see things in the real world, in the physical conscious cities, but also in the metaverse. For example, something we are going to work on, kids with autism. They have difficulties with social skills, but it's proven in the metaverse you can teach them those social skills. Yeah. Kids that cannot go to school because they are in poor regions, they cannot travel too much and so on, but they have 1 or 2 laptops in the village. We can basically give them virtual education. Yeah, that's how we think we can contribute to a better place, to a better world. Do you have more examples like that, what blockchain can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that the one thing that I see is very profound. This is quite obvious. Is that the wealthy are getting much more wealthy, and the poor are getting poorer. And you see that. As a matter of fact, we were just at F1 a few days ago, right? And I mean, that is, we're hanging out in the suites, and I mean, that's a wealthy person's thing, right? And you're seeing, then you see the mega yachts, and you see the mega cars, and now people are buying multi-million-dollar cars and then coating them in gold just because it's a way to spend more money. A place, I mean, even here in Dubai, somebody paid $1 million for a license plate with one letter on it, right? And so the wealthy are getting wealthier, the poor are getting poorer, and I'm concerned about that. I'm really concerned about that. And what I love about blockchain is it is the great equalizer, right? You're seeing people that would never have had a chance of getting wealthy starting to get wealthy. And a perfect example is that game in the Philippines, right? So a lot of my employees, so I had an exit in February. I sold a company in the Philippines. We had 1,000 employees. And many of my former employees, they kept me on as a mascot, but I'll still say former employees, they're playing this game and they're getting paid to play the game. And they're making money from the game. They're making far more money than I paid them, and it's changing their lives. And that has a trickle-down effect as well, right? Because in the Philippines, if you're having prosperity, then I mean, everyone has their hand out because people need help, right? So you're paying helping a lot of people out as well. And it's very interesting because that is technically really trickle-up economics, right? I've seen trickle-up and trickle down. So we all understand how trickle up works, right? If people have more money. For example, I shared that example of India. Well, if we could truly empower the farmers of India and they entered into the middle class, that would be profound, right? India has one of the biggest middle classes in the world, but if you empowered those farmers to join the middle class, first of all, you'd be selling tons of cars and clothing and services. I mean, the list goes on, but you would have the biggest mega middle class in the history of the world, right? It would be insane. So, but it's very easy to understand trickle up economics. In the US, where I'm from, I live in Puerto Rico now, in the 80s, we had Ronald Reagan, who was, in my opinion, one of our greatest presidents. But his whole platform was trickle-down economics. And today people make fun of that, The idea of making the rich richer which then make, the idea was that it would trickle down and help others. I have to tell you, I've actually learned that that works as well too. So I live in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, they have a program to incentivize people with means to move to the island. And we pay very little tax, very little tax. And as a result, it's attracting a massive amount of brain trust and money to the island, and it is radically affecting change. You can see it on the island. It's incredible. Now, it's not perfect, but it's incredible. Now, here's the interesting thing. The Puerto Ricans who live there, the hardworking Puerto Ricans, they pay regular tax. The rich guys don't. Okay, so it's impossible to convince a Puerto Rican that it's fair that the rich guys aren't paying taxes and that the hardworking Puerto Ricans are. But you can show them the impact that it's having on the island. You can see it. It's profound. So it's very interesting. So I'm concerned about the divide. At the same time, I want to see trickle-up economics, but I also trickle-down economics work too. Now I just came yesterday from a family office conference in Dubai, and that was very interesting because there was a lot of money in the room, but a lot of those people were putting a heavy emphasis on philanthropic pursuits, which I think is very cool, and I think blockchain will certainly add a whole new spectrum to that. So,
Nice you say that, because that was my next question for Rico. Rico, you are incubating one of those philanthropic projects that there is an app where people get paid to text. Can you say something more about that?
Right. I think you're referring to PhilCoin, philanthropic coin. That is one of the projects that we started about 2 months ago. Well, we were realizing that people need to have philanthropy, and more people are here to give. And right now, Bitcoin is a very good store of value coin, but we don't have a coin for people. So hence, with the other co-founders, Jerry and Dunstan and myself, 3 of us, we came together and we realized that Jerry has this idea of doing philanthropy for the people, and it's for everyone, and we should be united, as using this coin. So the utility of the token is this: we will be launching our own encrypted, low bandwidth chatting app, where you can actually do video call with a 2G network, right? And you can also chat to earn, where the utility token can be used on many other things, including, once it's being listed, you can use it on purchasing other goods. But the economy is this, where more and more people adopt and use your token, the value increases. Many of us didn't realize this is exactly how Bitcoin started. 12 years ago, when Bitcoin started, there was not much adoption except for the gamers and hackers, and then dark web, for example. But now, we have public companies putting their reserve and hedging on Bitcoin, removing themselves from hedging on US dollar, for example, in the States. You have countries like El Salvador, putting Bitcoin as one of the legal tender to trade and be used in the whole financial system. And we have other countries coming up. Argentina, Mexico will be some of the countries that will be lining up to do the same, because they see a real example of how a country can benefit from Bitcoin, cryptocurrency that is able to combat inflation. So for people to move forward, a utility token that is very low transaction fee, where it's easily accessed with just an app, and you can actually use it for many purposes, such as education, for philanthropy use, supporting different minorities, and also cohort of people that need it the most. Recently, we partnered up with the indigenous community in the USA. We are also looking to empower women. So we are working with different activists who are feminists and also supporting women empowerment. These are some of the things that we are working on. But philanthropy is one of the major things that we are looking at, part of the impact. I would like to add on that moving forward, when more and more people believe in cryptocurrency and the value of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin will definitely go to the next level. as a Bitcoin maximalist, we always believe that Bitcoin will reach at least 1 million for one Bitcoin in the next 3 to 5 years. And, it's not a myth. Up to today, I think we see the potential of this cryptocurrency achieving that.
Can I mention something real quick?
Yeah.
So Rico mentioned El Salvador, and I don't know how much of that El Salvador news really comes here. I mean, I know people hear about it, but what's that?
They are buying every dip.
Yeah, I mean, but it is so profound, El Salvador's move, right? We all talked about, we're going to start seeing some real adoption when one of these countries, actually makes Bitcoin their actual currency. And El Salvador is fascinating because the president of El Salvador, his people love him. He's young, he's a kid, he's like 40, right? Now, he has to really be on his toes because his predecessors are either in jail or they're extradited from the country, right? I mean, they got in trouble, and El Salvador is a place that has had a long history of corruption, of big corruption, and it's very interesting because the president of El Salvador, he really had nothing to lose because El Salvador's currency was Bitcoin. Sorry, what am I saying? Their currency was the USD, US dollar. The US dollar is dramatically inflated now, as all currencies are all over the world. You're seeing inflation in real time. Now, these governments are always printing currency, and then that money goes towards social services and government and what have you to help the country. But El Salvador's currency was the USD, but they didn't get any benefit of that. So they had absolutely nothing to lose. All they were getting was a currency that was becoming less and less valuable every single year. Some of those people in El Salvador, they will take some of their revenue that they make and they'll put it in Bitcoin. And it's going to be a bumpy road, right? The dips are going to kill them, right? But if they can hang on, it will change so many lives. That is trickle up, right? But then in addition to that, you have trickle down because anybody that comes to El Salvador and spends 3 Bitcoins gets a passport. And then they're going to infuse money into the local economy. And the cool thing about that one is there's a lot of places around the world where you can buy a passport. This is different. You could roll into town and spend 3 Bitcoin on a house. You could spend 3 Bitcoin on bubble gum, right? On a car, on television sets, anything, and you get the passport. And then you're going to come and infuse more money. And I've never been to El Salvador. I live in Puerto Rico, but I've never been to El Salvador. But some friends of mine went with the delegation with Brock Pierce, and I asked him, I go, how was it? He said, and my buddy told me, he said, it's a little dodgy. You had this feeling of, it wasn't terribly safe. But, in the next few years, that's going to totally change. Lots of people are going to come in with money, and they're going to change that place. And then the El Salvadorian citizens, they're going to change it because they're going to get empowered, and they're going to start making money. It's huge. It's so important. And you're going to see other Latin American countries do the same thing.
We are running out of time. They are going to kick us out of the stage. Guys, I want to thank you, Dereck, Rico, Daven. I think we told some good things what we can do with blockchain technology to make the world more conscious, what we can give back to the world. So thank you for all the people that are still here. Thank you to follow us.
Fantastic,
Nico.
ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen. Again, put your hands together for Niko, Daven, Rico, and Dereck. Thank you so much.